We were delighted to find and bring Seth into our little world. Seth Davis is a certified adult sleep coach. He will tell you his story. Hopefully you saw it on the video, which I think is very important. And he's the founder of his company called Sleepably. And it's a team of sleep coaches who help adults and children sleep better. He works with clients all around the world. He creates personalized sleep plans, right? Because all that stuff that was presented has to happen. I think Erin mentioned it. She's like, we can give you all the tools you want. You don't do it, that's kind of on you, right? So if you want to make it happen, this is the kind of thing that Seth can do for you. So he comes up with personalized plans, overcoming your sleep issues, optimizing your sleep so that you can feel better and perform better and be the person you want to be every single day. Every single day. All right, friends, let's welcome Seth. Do me a favor, just make sure you speak into the mic so it gets on the internet.
Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for having me today. So what I've loved hearing so far is that hearing Ben and Erin talk, we're saying the same things, just in different ways, but it does confirm that it's all advice that can help you sleep. So if you're struggling with sleep, it can help you to turn things around, and that's what it's really all about, is kind of starting to get on a better path. So you're probably going to recognize some of the things they've been saying in my speech, but maybe I'll add some different context to it. And my context is through being a sleep coach. And you might ask, what is a sleep coach? So I'll cover what that is. But we're going to talk about rest and sleep and how it supports patients and caregivers. So I'd like to start out with a quote. It's self-care means giving the world the best of you rather than what's left of you. And I think this applies to anybody, but especially if you are a caregiver, especially if you are a neck cancer patient, it's a lot. It can mean a lot of work, a lot of learning, a lot of being fatigued, being tired, and so you might feel drained, or like when you go out into the world, you're just giving people what's left of you. So with self-care, if we talk about it in terms of sleep and rest right now, if we're able to give ourselves better self-care, better sleep, better rest, then we're able to go out into the world and be better versions of ourselves. So what that best of you looks like is different for each person. I came up with some ideas here. But with this, maybe if you're more rested, you're sleeping better, you're more patient, and you're compassionate with others or yourself. Maybe you're more mentally sharp for making important decisions. So whether that's about your treatment, about your finances, about relationships or anything, you're just in a better place mentally. You're more emotionally resilient when you're facing challenges. So, we all go through challenges, but in this case, neck cancer can be a challenge. So we could just be more emotionally resilient with that. We're more present for moments with our friends and loved ones. So we can actually be there and enjoy those moments and be present, be in a better mood for them. Physically energized for exercise and daily activities. So another pillar of the CEASE program is exercise. So if we're sleeping better, we have more energy to be out there being physically active and engaging in our daily activities. And then just our lives. So we have passions, we have hobbies, we have relationships and things we're interested in. And when we are more well-rested, we have more to give to those things. We can enjoy those things more. So the best of you looks different for each person, but hopefully this sort of provides why. Like, why should we be interested in improving our sleep? Why should we focus on that? And that's so that we can go out there and be more of ourselves with all of these things. So a little bit about me, as Dr. Liu mentioned, I'm going to just tell you who I am. So I'm a certified adult sleep coach, and when I first got started into this, it was because I struggle with sleep myself. So I came out into the world, I got my college degree, I was a journalist at first, and there were a lot of things that went along with that. There was deadline pressure, there was performance pressure, being a 20-something with a weird sleep schedule. So it led me to insomnia, just on and off for probably 15 years. So I was very familiar with having trouble falling asleep, waking up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, tossing and turning, searching for the next sleep medication or sleep supplement. So it's a lot of frustration. And so I think that, no matter what our circumstances are, a lot of people in this room have probably dealt with some of those things at one time or another, or somebody who has. So it's very common to be in that situation. So now I gained the knowledge, became a sleep coach, fixed myself, and now I help other people to do that. So I kind of work with people around the country, around the world, to improve their sleep. So that's what I'm here today to try to help you with. And so when I'm talking with people in my daily life and they ask me what I do for a living, I tell them a sleep coach. And a lot of people, first they get a kind of a funny look on their face, and then they say, that's fascinating. I've never heard of that before. Now, what the heck is a sleep coach? And so it's a new thing. It's a newer thing. So not all people know what it is. But for myself, I kind of define it as Dr. Lou said, just being there for someone. So we are going to take a look at you as a person. We're going to find out what are your challenges with sleep, what are your roadblocks. We're going to find out what does your daily life look like. And for some people, the value of a sleep coach, it's a guide. So somebody to help them understand what's happening with their sleep, to give them a plan if they've been just kind of searching all over the place, to actually have them focus on here's a plan. And for some people, it's accountability. So some people know what they need to do, but they just have trouble actually doing it. And for some people, it's just being a listener. So some people, when they come to me, just having somebody to talk about how lonely it's been or frustrating it's been actually helps them to start sleeping better, because they have somebody who can help them kind of understand that. So a sleep coach can be a lot of things, but that's kind of how the different roles that I play. Quick look at what it looks like when I work with people. This is sort of my approach that I have kind of come up with. So I call it the dreams approach. And so basically when somebody new comes to me, the first thing we do is, as I mentioned, is kind of get to know you, get to know the person. So we're going to talk about your lifestyle, your sleep environment, your stresses, your routines, your sleep schedule, things like that, so that we can start to identify what is standing in the way of your sleep, what's hindering your sleep. So after we do that, we start to build a plan, a roadmap. So we of course, we're going for science-backed strategies, things that are proven to work. We want to make sure that it fits with your lifestyle, your preferences, your schedules. We don't all have the same schedule. Some of us are shift workers. Some of us are just very busy people. We have families, so we need to make sure it fits in there. And we need to work at your own pace, too. Next up, education and experience. This is kind of the meat of what we do. We actually start making changes. So with the education, sometimes it helps to just understand the why behind it. So you've probably heard that blue light is not great for you, or light at midnight, but understanding why it's not great for you, and then how we can make some small changes to reduce light at nighttime. Just an example. So with this, we use practical action steps. We don't try to overload you with things. And we start to remove barriers and then install kind of better alternatives or healthy things. Adjust. So as we're going, not everything goes smoothly at first. So we might have to adjust a little bit. Sometimes a stressful event pops up or a challenge. So we work through that. We reframe negative sleep thoughts that are coming up. We celebrate progress, and we just adjust throughout the whole thing. And then the last two, maintain and sustain. So we're making progress. We want to make sure that we maintain that progress. We have a plan to help you keep going after we've worked together. And then sustain after we've worked together, just being a resource if something else pops up or you have questions or anything like that. So I just wanted to walk you through what it looks like to work with a sleep coach or work with myself, so you understand what it is that we do, since a lot of people are very unfamiliar with it. So as a sleep coach, people come to me, and usually I hear their story. So I do discovery call. They come to me, I hear their story about what their challenges are. And during these calls, a lot of common sentences come up. So people share a thought, and I hear them often. I'm sure that Ben and Aaron hear the same ones pretty often. And so I think it might help to unpack some of those and kind of see where the person is stuck, and maybe where there's some steps to maybe take the next step forward and get unstuck. So I thought we could just talk through some of these common things that I hear, and that might be useful for some people. So it's supposed to say, I've tried everything to improve my sleep. So when I hear this, and this is something I hear often, people feel stuck, like they've tried literally everything. That one looks more normal, I guess. So yeah, they feel like they've literally tried everything. And so with this thought, one of the problems is that you might feel emotionally exhausted from constantly searching. So perhaps you've spent all your time searching for the next best product to buy, or the next best medication to use, or supplement, or breathing technique, and you've done all the research. You could have a master's degree in sleep. So you're just exhausted. I've tried everything, nothing's working. You're sometimes like fixating on the problem. So sleep has become a huge problem. I'm fixated on it, and that can just reinforce and grow this problem. Sleep is a huge, it's a big problem for me. Taking a scattershot approach. So for a lot of people, I've worked with people who, they've literally tried everything. I worked with somebody who said that she thought she found out that if she drank a milkshake before bed every night, that she found that the sleep was better for her. And so, I don't think that's medically sustainable. It's not going to be a great thing. But some people just get desperate and they're just trying everything and throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. And then just effort itself can be counterproductive to sleep. So if you've ever just laid in bed and tried hard to sleep and tried to force yourself to sleep, you probably know that's not very helpful. It kind of pushes sleep farther away. Other things can be just efforts to sleep. So I'm trying to read myself to sleep or meditate myself to sleep, or just the more work you put into it, it can make sleep harder to get. So anybody in here experienced some of those things before, had these same thoughts at times? Okay, I see some heads nodding. Okay, so what it leads to, again, it reinforces the idea of a big problem to be solved. My sleep is a huge problem, and when you see your sleep as a huge problem, it can kind of fracture your relationship with sleep a little bit. It leads to feelings of overwhelm. Just from trying so much, from researching so much, you can feel overwhelmed because there's no shortage of books and blogs and online forums and everything else. So you can read as much as you want to about sleep. And I had one person who he would spend hours a day on Reddit forums, just talking about insomnia with other people. And I think there's probably some well-meaning good people out there, but there's also a lot of bad advice out there too. So it can eat up a lot of time and focus. And it can lead to massive efforts and intense focus on sleep, as I mentioned before. So the way forward, one thing we can do is we can, if you have built up this massive thing, I need to do these 20 things in order for me to try to get a good night of sleep, we can start to peel back the onion one layer at a time. So gradually let go of some things that probably aren't doing anything, kind of just let go of some of those efforts and really focus on some of the fundamentals. So just simplify a little bit, approach with a beginner's mind. So if you have done so much, you've become this expert in sleep, but it's still not working, maybe let's step back with a beginner's mind and just kind of focus on fundamentals and kind of start from the beginning. Embrace curiosity, not judgment. So it's easy to judge our sleep, and now that we have data, we have wearables, Oura rings, and things, we can stare at the data, we can judge. Why is it telling me I'm only getting this much deep sleep or this? But sometimes let's just make one little change at a time. Let's just be curious and see if it's working for us or not. So we can adjust, but we don't need to judge our sleep harshly. And then just solidify one healthy change at a time. So focus on one or two things, get those in place, and then build from there. So that can help with some of the overwhelm, hopefully. Number 2, I've always been a bad sleeper. Have anybody in this room had that thought before? Yeah, so this is a very common one. When I'm talking to people, either it's I've always been a bad sleeper, or I was always a good sleeper until, which is just a different form of I was a good sleeper and now I'm a bad sleeper. So I hear that's usually the way that my calls start out. So part of the problem with this, the sleep identity becomes fixed. So I am a bad sleeper. Like I identify as a bad sleeper. And so I had a client who, on his discovery call, he said, "I'm going to be your toughest client you've ever had before, and if you can fix me, I'll mortgage my house." So he'd already decided that he was the worst sleeper. He'd be my worst client. So he had a fixed identity. It can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you go into the night or you go into the week thinking I'm a bad sleeper, so tonight's going to be a bad night of sleep, or next week or next year, then it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you might just feel reduced hope for change or a sense of defeat. So you're just defeated by sleep, basically. So what it leads to, if you can see it on this fortune cookie up here, it says, your future does not include good sleep. So we're just feeling fundamentally broken. We are not going to sleep well. We could have self-sabotaging behaviors that confirm this identity. So maybe it's, well, I'm not a good sleeper, so why not just be on TikTok all night? Or why not have, just drink this coffee at 6 p.m. It's not going to affect me, or because I'm not going to sleep anyway. So some self-sabotaging behaviors. And so the way forward, one thing I like to do is reframe the identity. And so for this one, if you find yourself saying, I'm just not a good sleeper, or I've never been a bad sleeper, I borrowed this from one of my kids who brought this home from school. I think it was kindergarten, where his teacher, they would use the word yet. So they would say, I'm not a good reader yet, or I'm not good at riding my bike yet. So I think if we can just add that word to this, then it opens the door for we can actually change this. So there's hope for change. And on that fortune cookie, it says change is coming. So it's a little bit more optimistic. Rewrite the narrative. Another thing I like to think about is the idea that sleep is a skill. So it's something that we can get better at. If we do the right things, we do them consistently, we let go of certain things, sleep is a skill that we can get better at. So even if we feel terrible at it right now, as Ben and Aaron talked about, like there are lots of things we can do. And we just need to, focus on the right things and maybe let go of some of the things that are not helpful. Build new evidence. So when I'm working with people, I like to encourage people to hold on to little bits of proof. So the first night that we slept better at a half dose of the medication they're on, or the first time that they realized, hey, I feel a little bit less stressed about sleep or anxious about sleep. So there's little bits of evidence that we can hold on to, or I woke up, I was awake for less than I usually am during the night. So even small things like that just show that change is possible and that it's happening. And then acknowledge legitimate external factors. So in this room, we know that there's fatigue, there's disrupted sleep for various reasons, there's stress around treatments and around many different things. So we can acknowledge that, but it doesn't need to define our sleep. Like we can still get better, and we can still improve this skill despite those things. So it might be a little bit more challenging, but we can still do it. So hopefully that if you're stuck in that mode, or I was always a good sleeper until, there's hope to move forward. The next one's every night is a struggle, and I think that my co-presenters focused on this, but this is something I see often too, where we spend the nights tossing and turning, we're uncomfortable, we are trying hard to sleep, frustrated about being awake. And so when we're in this mode, part of the problem is that bedtime becomes a battlefield for a lot of people. So I've actually heard a lot of people use this exact term, is that I feel like I'm preparing for battle when nighttime approaches, or I feel a sense of dread when it's going to be nighttime because I know that it's going to be a bad night of sleep. So when you get in this case, when sleep becomes a threat, our bodies might go into fight or flight reaction mode, which we've talked about. So we might get stress hormones, we're tense. Our body is trying to fight or flee from this perceived threat. Again, self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm probably going to struggle tonight, probably going to struggle a week from now. And just a loss of trust in our natural processes. So I don't trust that my body's going to help me sleep tonight. I'm just going to be struggling. So what it leads to, we have anticipatory anxiety leading up to bedtime, hypervigilance and body scanning, so just kind of lying there like, am I falling asleep? Am I going to be awake? I'm starting to struggle. I feel my heart beating faster. So kind of scanning ourselves and being vigilant. The negative sleep environment association, which we talked about. So your bed can become an uncomfortable, scary place. I had one client who told me that he would go into his bedroom, he would look at his bed, and he'd say, oh no, like there's bad mojo here. He'd turn back around, go out to his couch where he felt more comfortable, and he even ended up buying an expensive couch because that's where he spent his time. So he just moved permanently. So we had to work to help him to ease back into the bed. Physical tension and arousal, so we just feel tense, we feel awake, and then exhaustion beyond sleep deprivation. So if you've ever had a night where you were tossing and turning, you were frustrated about it, you felt like you were in this battle every night, the next day I'm guessing you probably felt exhausted, and part of it was because you were locked in a battle all night with this dragon up here, like you were battling it all night, and so you tend to feel more tired and more run down the next day. So the way forward, one of the things we can do, and I think this touches on what Aaron talked about, is reframe sleep from battle to surrender. So sometimes instead of fighting hard for sleep and being locked in this battle, we need to let go of it. We need to say, I'll surrender to it, and when it's time for sleep, I will sleep. There's a book I like called Hello Sleep, which she talks about the tug of war, which I think you used that phrase, and that sometimes we just need to drop the rope. So instead of just tug of war all night long, you need to drop the rope and just walk away for a while. Release the outcome, focus on rest and relaxation. So sometimes instead of again struggling for sleep, focus on enjoying rest and relaxation, because that's something we can control. So the more that we can get better at resting and relaxing and be comfortable and be in a good place, that's more enjoyable than being locked in this battle all night long. We talked about self-compassion, so the idea of just treating yourself kindly. Some people, they get so angry they're punching their pillow and they're talking to themselves like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you, like everybody else is sleeping, why can't you sleep? So just kind of telling ourselves a little bit better story, talking to ourselves as if you would talk to a friend or family member, that can go a long way. And then just creative, positive bedtime rituals and positive things we can do both leading up to bedtime and during the night that are nurturing. So they're calming, they're nurturing. We're not trying to outwit sleep or force sleep into submission. We're not being strategic. We're just keeping ourselves in a good place and enjoying this time as much as we can. So some ways to start to shift from struggling at night to being more okay with it. My brain won't shut off at night. Anybody in this situation? Racing mind? This is one of the, yes. So this is one of the most common ones. I hear this all the time, and I do some corporate sleep wellness presentations, and I poll people beforehand and ask, what are some of your biggest sleep challenges? And usually racing mind is the biggest one. Usually 60 to 75% of people say this is their top one. So with this one, hyperarousal and cognitive activity, your brain is just going, and it's keeping you awake, and your going is keeping you awake. You might be ruminating about things happening in the past, past conversations, past events, worrying about things that may or may not happen in the future. So your brain is just all off to all different areas of time. And you're in a mental battle to shut off the brain. So, your brain has become your enemy. You're just like, why won't you shut up? I'm trying to rest. And so you're kind of locked in this battle with your brain. So what it leads to, hypervigilance about mental activity. So has anybody here just kind of laid awake thinking about how you're thinking too much? So that can be a cycle that just keeps going. Physical tension and difficulty winding down. We're just tense. It's hard to wind down when your brain is just going. Daytime functioning impairment, so you're just missing out on sleep, or your brain is tired the next day, so you're having trouble functioning cognitively. And again, your sleep environment can be anxiety provoking, so it becomes the place where you go and your brain just starts racing. So the way forward, and I think these match up a lot with what they have been talking about, but one thing is to reframe how we think about thoughts. So we can, with our thoughts, we can sort of label them as a thought. We can say, okay, I'm okay with this thought being here, I accept it, but I don't need to engage with it. So just kind of reframing how we think about thoughts and how much we let them affect us. Processing during the day, so we talked about using a journal. We talked about thinking through worries or to-dos or things like that, and making time to process those during the day so that when our head hits the pillow at night, we're able to tell our brain, you know what, we focused on that during the day. We did that, we can do it tomorrow, but right now, this is not the time to do that. This is our time to rest. Bringing mind to the here and now, so we went through mindfulness, great exercises, just the idea of helping, guiding your brain into just noticing what's here with the sensations that are happening in your body. and the environment, like what you see, what you hear, what you smell, and just really just kind of being here and now. And finally, giving the mind something better to focus on. So, we talked about mental imagery. That's a great one. Just go to a scene in your mind. I've had people do the beach vacations, do the walks through the mountains. I've had one person who really liked airplane flights, so he would just take a flight in his mind. I had another person who would play golf in their mind and just play a round of golf. And I just had somebody who he has fond memories of playing hockey with his friends in the street when he was a kid, so he'll just go play a game of hockey. So it really just kind of giving your mind something better to focus on. Or it could be a book or an audio book, something external where you can just kind of get lost in a story or some music or something. So if you are dealing with a racing mind, some ways to possibly move forward. Number 5, the last one. So I still don't feel rested even after sleeping. I think this is, as you mentioned, fatigue is one of the biggest things here. So that's definitely a factor that plays heavily into this. I hear this even with people who, just through all walks of life. And I save this one for last because it is sort of a bigger thing. And with this, some of the problems, for one thing, you might be confused about, well, does that mean that I'm not getting enough sleep? Does that mean that my sleep quality is not great? So it can lead to some confusion over that. Perhaps you blame sleep, like, I'm getting enough sleep, but why do I still feel tired? So you're kind of frustrated with sleep. Or you kind of blame yourself, like, why is this happening to me? But I think it can be sort of an oversimplification of a complex issue, because sometimes, if you feel unrested during the day, it's not even necessarily related to sleep. So it could be, could be some other things. It could be stress. It could be anxiety or depression, a medication, treatment. It could be, just many different reasons. Not getting enough exercise, nutrition. So just a lot of things that can play into this. And so often, sleep shoulders the blame because usually sleep is what's supposed to make you rested. But so when you're in this case, sometimes it might lead to not going to the root of the problem. So I think that's why I'm glad that we're here, is because we do have a lot of different types of experts. So we have Dr. Lou and his team. You have you might look into a sleep disorder, so there's sleep apnea, things like that can cause issues. We have nutritionists, we have exercise people, we have all these different experts, and so they can help you sort of get to the root of this. So I always encourage people just to have those conversations, and see if it's something that maybe is unrelated to sleep or just a different area of your health. So if you feel unrested even after sleeping, it's a good time just to do a little bit of exploration and talk to some experts, and kind of see if you can figure out what the exact cause of it is. Could be sleep, but it could be some other things that maybe are related to sleep. So I always encourage people just to have those conversations. And finally, talking about rest. So we talk about sleep, we talk about rest. A lot of people, when they think about rest, it is sleep or taking a nap, or some people think of rest as lying on the couch and watching Netflix. But I think it's important to recognize that there are 7 different types of rest. Maybe there's more, but I'm most familiar with the 7 types. And sometimes if you're feeling unrested, it can be helpful to look at these and see if any of them might be lacking in your life, or if maybe getting more of these types of rest could be helpful for you. So for some examples, mental. So with mental, we spend all day processing things and remembering things and making decisions, and our brains are like just a browser with a bunch of tabs open. And so if we have those tabs open for too long, our brains can get tired and we might feel mentally fatigued. So sometimes, improving this can mean taking little breaks, or reading a book, taking a walk, just kind of giving ourselves a time to unplug mentally. Social, so sometimes being around friends or loved ones can be energizing, or can really kind of help give us some social rest. So maybe make a decision to be around people more often, or even have phone calls with people who you love, or the sensory. So with sensory, we spend all day looking at bright lights and screens, loud noises, and so sometimes we can get sensory overload. So just taking time to maybe get out in nature or sit in a room that's dim and quiet and giving ourselves that time to just let our senses relax. So I won't go into all of these, but you can see we also have emotional, spiritual, physical, creative. So if you notice that, or if you know yourself and you know that maybe some of these things would be refreshing to you, might help you feel more rested, but you don't get enough of them, you might want to do a little inventory and see which of these you might want to focus on. So I guess to wrap it up, just a few key takeaways. I think the first thing is approach your sleep and rest with a beginner's mind. So maybe you've done a lot of research and things like that, but maybe just take a step back and say, okay, let's do a few fundamentals that have been proven to be really helpful. Let's just see how those feel to me, and then we'll expand from there. Shift from struggling or fixing sleep to tactfully nurturing your relationship with it. So I think I've seen this a lot, and I agree with it, that sleep is like a relationship. So you want to have this friendly, peaceful relationship with sleep. We're not trying to trick it or force it or be angry with it. So the more we can kind of just nurture this relationship, it'll be more helpful for you. Help the busy mind let go and redirect its attention. Again, this is sort of a skill. So if we find ourselves with the racing mind, we can work to change this. So we can help it let go of things. We can help it to free up some mind space, redirect its attention, and that's something that we can practice. And then finally, just focus on all aspects of C's to improve your health and well-being, including sleep. As we've talked about, they're all kind of tied together. So sleep is related to exercise, is related to spirits, is related to nutrition. They all work together. And so when we improve in all of those areas, then the other areas tend to improve as well. So I just encourage you to keep moving forward on all those different areas. And with that, here's giving the world the best of you and not more of the rest of you. No, giving the world more of the best of you. That's the goal. So, thank you.